Okay, so I'm going to show you how to set up a project here in FL Studio and then how to use FL Studio, the basics of it. So the first thing you need to do is go to Options, go to Audio Settings. From there you're going to go to Project, and then once you get into Project you're going to select where you want to save this at. For you, it would be your Y drive or a flash drive depending on what you have hooked up. You don't want to save it to your C drive on the laptop because that fills up the space and you can end up losing the work that you have. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and just select desktop because I'm going to delete the project when I'm done. I'm going to make a new folder, and this is going to be my test video. I'm going to hit OK for that, and then it says, do I want to save my current project to that folder? I do, so I'm going to tell it what name it is, and this is going to be, again, my test. So I'm going to do that. Again, this is going to be in your Y drive or a flash drive that you have. Alright, so now if I put in any audio or anything like that, it's all going to save in that folder and I'll know exactly where it's at. If I just go and save without doing that, it's going to put it somewhere on the C drive and it's going to be hard to find and you're going to probably lose your work. So make sure you set it up that way. Alright, so a couple things you need to know is this pattern. Think of this as a track. Pattern 1, if I want that to be drums, pattern 1 is going to be drums. So I can make my drums going off of this area here, which is our channel rack. If I want to add in a piano or something like that, then I would change it to pattern 2. Pattern 2 then would become the piano. If I wanted to add in a bass guitar, I could go to pattern 3, make a bass guitar track, etc. Okay, so let's just start off with a simple drum beat. I go in here, I'm just going to make it like this. We're going to put in some hi-hats. Press play. Oh, we got to make sure this is on. So make sure the orange is on here. This will allow us to hear what's happening right here in this. Okay, so I've got the drum beat. So if that's something I want, all I have to do is click over here, make sure I'm on pattern 1, and I can add in my drum beat. Now if I want to add in a new instrument, I'm going to make sure that I'm at the bottom here. I'm going to go to Insert, and this time I'm just going to add in Citrus. Okay, so this comes with it. Notice it does split up my drums. If I hit the Alt button and down, if I'm over here and I hit the Alt button and down, that will move it to the bottom of the list, which is nice. And then I also want to assign it to one of my mixer tracks. So you can see my kick drum, my clap, my hat, and my snare are on track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4, so that coincides here. So I'm going to make this one on 5. Okay, I can name everything, so if I right click on that, I can go to rename and I could change that to Citrus. And so now I'll know that that's going to be Citrus. So again, since this is a different instrument, I have to change it to pattern 2. If I click on Citrus again, I can sample my sounds here. I could use either my keyboard and click on it, or my mouse and click on it, or I could press keys. So I could press keys on the keyboard to do that. Okay. If I go up here to presets, I could click the over arrow, or I can right click, and this is going to bring up all the different presets that are on here. So for simplicity, I'm going to choose something kind of easy. I'm just going to choose an acoustic nylon guitar. Okay, so I've got that. Let's listen to the sounds. Doesn't really sound all that realistic, but this will get the gist of across what we want to do. So again, I've switched over to pattern 2. Now what I can do is I can right click and go to piano roll. Now this is where I can go in and actually put in my music. So if you put in something that's way too big, you just go to the end of it and drag it over. Okay, so that's way bigger than what I want. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this. And again, you have to have a little bit of musical ability to make sure that things sound good. So this is a C note. Okay, if I want to see what every single note is called, I can click the down arrow here and go to Tools. I got to make sure I'm in the right spot. This actually could be the wrong spot, so I might have to find it real quick. Oh yeah, so you go to View, not Tools, go to View, and then go to Keyboard Labels, and I could change it to all notes, and I can see what all the different notes are. So something like a C, D, and G will go together. And I'm just going to randomly click things because I'm just experimenting to try to see what I can get. Again, having it on the pattern, press play. go with that. Doesn't sound very good, but it's going to get our point across. So now I've got my pattern on here. I'm going to click over here. Notice this time it's taking up 2 measures instead of just the 1. So I only have to repeat that twice. And now if I press play, I got to take this off. Now I can see my track actually playing together. And if I can't hear something very well, again, I can go to my mixer and I can lower my bass drum down a little bit if I want. I can make my citrus a little louder if I want. Okay, so if I wanted to add another instrument, again, I could go in here and change it to pattern 3. Right click on my plugin that I had on before and go to insert. This time I'm just going to choose something that's going to give us a bass. So I'm just going to go to Boo Bass. And again, you can do this in any order. If I don't mind that being ahead of that, I can keep it that way. But again, if I click on it and go to Alt and push the down arrow, that will reroute it so that it goes down. Okay, you may have to select it twice to get it to go to where you want it. I'm going to change this to 6. And again, I go back to my mixer, and I can find that up here. Go back to my mixer, right click, go to rename, change that to bass. So I've got that. All right, so now all I got to do, one thing I could do is I could go back to my pattern 3 if I want, click on here, and if I want my bass to play the same part, I can hit Control A, same as Microsoft Word to be able to copy and paste things. So Control A highlights everything, Control C cuts it, or copies it, not cuts it. Go back to my pattern 2, go to my Boo Bass, right click, go to my piano roll and hit Control V, which will paste it in there. Now if I press play here, so now I could do the same thing. I could add this in, press play, again making sure that's off. And so just remember, this playlist is where you build your music at. Okay, so if I wanted my drums to stop and I wanted just the bass to play for a minute and then bring drums back in again, I could do that. Okay, so if I wanted to take that and then add in another bass, all you got to do is click the top part right here of the pattern, and then that'll put the pattern back in. It'll select that particular pattern. Make sure that you are paying attention that it's putting in the right thing, because sometimes if you've clicked on pattern 3 and you didn't click on pattern 2 in the right spot, it'll put in a pattern 3 up here where you don't want it. So now I can go in here and press play. Okay, so again, this is where you build your track at. This is how you make it sound good, okay, or where you get your track that you actually wanted. If you had audio that you wanted to put in from the outside, you'd have to minimize that down and then go to wherever you have audio at. I don't think I have anything in here at all, but if I did, actually I think TuneBite has. Here's a Maroon 5 track. So if I wanted to have this come in here, all I have to do, if I shrink this down a little bit, go here, and this can take either MP3s or it can take WAV files. So I go to my track here, I could take this, drag this over, and it drags the audio right in, just like I showed you the other day. Okay, so here's my audio. Again, this isn't going to work for it because it's not the same track, but if I had vocals or some other type of track that I wanted to use, this is how I get it in there. So if I get a loop off of Looperman or something like that, like drums or guitar off of there, that's how I put it in here. Notice that when I put it in here, over on the channel rack, all that other stuff I put in disappears. If I go up here to where it says audio, click down, go to all, it's going to show it all in here. So now you can see the track that I just added in right there. Okay, so that's how you get that in there. I'm going to go ahead and delete that because we don't need that. It's not going to sound good. So a couple things here on the mixer. Remember, this is where you adjust your volumes. Okay, over here is where I put in my effects. So if I go to Citrus and say I wanted to have a reverb in, I can select that. Go find my reverb. So I'm going to go to Reverb 2. I can press play. If I want to just hear how that Citrus itself sounds, if I right click, it's going to put it into a solo mode, so I can hear how much reverb I need to add. Here I can adjust that. No echo. So it does make it sound better. Again, you have presets to make it sound different. I like the venue. There you can really hear it. Okay, I can do my same thing with the bass. you put in all your effects is over here. Okay, and you got to go to the track that you actually want to put that effect on. And again, this is where you build your songs up. Okay, you guys got to remember to change that pattern. Once you have the song that you want, you go up to File, go to Save, because you've already set up your thing or your project. Just go to Save, and it will automatically save it into where you've got it at. Okay, if you forgot to do that, then you can at least still save it, and then we have to go find your audio stuff. But really make sure you set up your track properly right at the beginning. All right, so that is the basics of using FL Studio.